there and a very warm welcome to WION Wallet. I'm Molly Gambhir. Here's a quick check on the top stories and headlines we're tracking for you at this hour. The US administration has accused top Indian IT firms like Tata Consultancy Services and Infosys of violating the H-1B visa norms. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asked the states to consider advancing the financial year to January-December. World Steel Association has said that steel demand in India will be the highest for both 2017 and 2018. Tata Motors' own Jaguar Land Rover has slashed prices of two models in India by up to Rs 4.08 lakh to take on German rivals. The US administration has accused top Indian IT firms like Tata Consultancy Services and Infosys of violating the H-1B visa norms. The Indian companies are accused of unfairly cornering the lion's share of H-1B visas by putting extra tickets in the lottery system, which the Trump administration wants to replace with a more merit-based immigration policy. At a White House briefing last week, an official in the Trump administration said a small number of giant outsourcing firms flood the system with applications, which naturally ups their chances of success in the lottery draw. The official said H-1B visas presently awarded through random lottery, with about 80% of H-1B workers being paid less than the median wage in their fields. He said workers are often brought in well below market rates to replace American workers, again sort of violating the principle of the program, which is supposed to be a means of bringing in skilled labor. On Sunday itself, Union Finance Minister of India, Arun Jaitley, raised the issue of H-1B visa restrictions with his US counterpart in their fears that the curb on H-1B visa could impact the $150 billion Indian IT industry. Our correspondent Sumit Chaturvedi is joining us on the phone line for more on this. Sumit, that's a very serious allegation that's been raised on the Indian IT firms. What exactly is the Indian government thinking at this point? Where does the government stand?
Molly, we have managed to speak to Sitaraman, who is Commerce Minister, and she's of the view that currently the talks are going on in the US between Mr. Jaitley, FM Jaitley and counterparts. So they are not currently talking or commenting on any particular company individually. They are saying that we are talking to U.S. government as a whole on the overall principles of visa policy between India and U.S. So that's why they will desist from making any comment from any individual company that has been made so far from the U.S. side. So clearly, the talks are on currently on what could be the broad contours of the visa policy between India and the U.S. And so things will come out over the period of time, but nothing concrete has been said by Indian government so far on as far as the issue of U.S. calling the TCS and NC companies cheat is concerned. The government has said that we will not comment on any individual company, but yes, we are talking to U.S. Continuously on the overall basis of visa policy between India and U.S. H-1B visa, government is saying is very important for Indian IT companies, and that's what government is pressing on to U.S. government also. But H-1B visas are very important for Indians. They should not be tinkered with, or the law should be in accordance with the requirements of Indian companies, because Indian companies require them on a very continuous basis. So they should keep in mind the impact it will have on Indian IT companies, including Cognizant, Infosys, TCS, and even small companies also that continuously send their engineers to on-site in U.S. On H-1B visa. Remember, India is the largest recipient of H-1B visas, where the visas are used by Indian engineers to go on-site in U.S. and do work of the clients of Indian IT companies like Infosys, TCS, and Cognizant. So clearly keeping that in mind, Indian government has replied the talks are currently going on, but government has desisted from making any kind of statement as far as individual companies are concerned.
All right, let's leave it there for the moment. Sumit, keep tracking those developments. It indeed is a contentious issue. Thank you very much for getting us up to speed with the Indian government stand at this point as well. Now, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asked the states to consider advancing the financial year to January-December and said that in a country where agricultural income is exceedingly important, budget should be prepared immediately after its receipt for the year. Making the observation while delivering the closing remarks at the third meeting of the Governing Council of Niti Aayog, he said there have been suggestions to have the financial year changed to January-December in place of the existing April to March and urged the states to take the initiative in this regard. He also called upon the states to use the GEM, which is the Government e-Marketplace platform, to reduce corruption and increase transparency in government procurement. Adding that the use of technologies such as BHIM and Aadhaar would result in significant savings for the states. Prime Minister Modi also reiterated on the idea of holding simultaneous parliamentary and state assembly elections, saying that the country has suffered from economic and political mismanagement for quite some time now, and that a constructive discussion has already begun on the subject. Even as Indian economy adjusts to the effects of demonetization, the World Steel Association in its short-range outlook has said that steel demand in India will be the highest for both 2017 and 2018 among major steel-consuming nations. In 2017 and in 2018, India's steel demand will grow by 6.1% and 7.1% respectively. China would see a flat growth in the current year, but it is going to fall by 2% next year. Overall, global steel demand will increase by 1.3% to 1,535.2 million ton in 2017, which is a growth of 1.0% over last year. Next year, global steel demand will grow by 0.9% and will reach 1,548.5 MT. WSE said steel demand in the developed economies will increase by 0.7% next year and 1.2% in 2018. Malaysia has reached an agreement to pay Abu Dhabi $2.5 billion as partial debt settlement for embattled government fund Malaysia Development. Under a deal that is expected to be announced today on the London Stock Exchange, Malaysia will pay Abu Dhabi $1.2 billion before the end of this year. According to this spokesman who asked not to be identified as the information is not yet public, Malaysia will also assume the coupon obligations for $2 bonds issued by WION MDB and co-guaranteed by Middle Eastern Sovereign Wealth Fund International Petroleum Investment Company. WION MDB and Malaysian Finance Ministry will pay the $2.5 billion through proceeds raised from the sale of units Brazen Sky Limited and WION MDB Global Investment Limited. Tata Consultancy Services recruited over 11,500 people outside India during 2016-17, including graduates from engineering and B schools in the US, as it ramps up local hiring in offshore markets to tackle visa-related challenges. The country's largest software services firm added 79,000 employees and 33,380 employees, taking its employee base to 3.87 lakh at the end of March. Hiring locals in overseas markets often pushes up operational costs for IT outsourcing companies. However, the governments in markets like the US, Australia and New Zealand tightening their work visa norms. Indian IT companies are hiring more local talents in offshore markets to ensure compliance with rules. However, the 11,500 number is lower than TCS's hiring from international markets in 2015-16. According to the company's annual report, it had inducted 16,173 people from international markets into its workforce in fiscal 2016. America accounted for over 55% of TCS's $4.4 billion revenue in the January-March 2017 quarter, while over 25% revenue came from Europe. Companies like TCS and Infosys use work permits like H-1B visa to send engineers to work on client sites. However, over the past few weeks, the US and other countries like Australia have taken steps to tighten their visa regime. Tata Motors-owned Jaguar Land Rover has slashed prices of two models in India by up to rupees 4.08 lakh to take on German rivals. The company has cut the price of the diesel-powered Land Rover Discovery Sport by rupees 4.08 lakh to rupees 43.8 lakh from the earlier price of rupees 47.88 lakh. Besides, it has also reduced the price of the Range Rover Evoque diesel by rupees 3.25 lakh to rupees 45.85 lakh. The move would help the company make its products competitive, thus enabling more customers to join the Land Rover family in India. The two vehicles compete with the likes of the Audi Q3, Q5, Mercedes GLC, GLE and BMW's X3. JLR sells a range of models through 24 authorized outlets in the country. Over a year into the exercise, German automaker Volkswagen has been able to rectify only 30% of the 3.4 lakh recalled diesel vehicles it had equipped with defeat device that helped cheat emission tests in India. Volkswagen Group India said the process has been delayed as it involves different brands, engines and models. The company's headquarters has so far given approval for engine updates that cover almost 70% of the vehicles which have been recalled in India. Overall, by the end of last month, 30% of the entire lot of vehicles that is eligible for the update has been covered in December 2015. The group had announced recall of 3.4 lakh vehicles in India across its different brands, including Audi, Volkswagen and Skoda, sold from 2008 till end of November 2015. After revolutionizing phones, recent hires suggest the company is now looking also to the skies. iPhone maker has recruited a pair of top Google satellite executives for a new hardware team. With the recruits, Apple is bringing into its ranks two experts in the demanding, expensive field of satellite design and operation. At the moment, these endeavors typically fall into two fields: satellites for collecting images and those for communications. In a regulatory filing last year, Boeing company detailed a plan to provide broadband access through more than 1,000 satellites in low Earth orbit. The aerospace company has talked with Apple about the technology company being an investor partner in the project. A person familiar with the situation gave out these details. It is unclear, though, if those talks will result in a deal. At the annual Satellite 2017 conference in Washington, D.C. last month, industry insiders said Boeing's project was being funded by Apple. The Ontario government moved forward with initiatives to rein in the housing market in and around its largest city, announcing 16 new measures, including a 15% tax on foreign buyers and expanded rent control rules. Ontario plans to help cool a hot housing market by bringing in a 15% foreign buyer tax, expanding rent control, allowing Toronto to impose a tax on vacant homes, and using surplus lands for affordable housing. Canadian Premier announced last week that a non-resident speculation tax will be imposed on the buyers in the Greater Golden Horseshoe who are not citizens, permanent residents or Canadian corporations. The area, which stretches from the Niagara region to Peterborough, Ontario, is home to about 9 million people and is one of North America's fastest growing regions. Once legislation passes, the non-resident speculation tax would be effective retrospectively to April 21st.
As part of its fair housing plan to help rein in the market and increase the supply of
Sony Corp shares jumped almost in 3 months after the company's better than projected preliminary earnings boosted analyst confidence in its ability to hit the highest profit levels in almost 2 decades. The Tokyo-based company's shares rose as much as 4.6% in early Tokyo trading, headed for its biggest jump since February 3rd. Sony reported preliminary operating profit of 285 billion yen for the fiscal year through March 2017, 19% higher than its previous forecast. Its net income would be about 73 billion yen, more than twice the previous forecast. That triggered JP Morgan Chase & Company to upgrade its rating on the stock to overweight from neutral. With with that, we're taking a short breather. Much more lined up for you when we return. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Thanks very much for staying with us. The 50-share NSE Nifty closed above psychological 9,200 mark for the first time since April 12th. After consolidation for more than a week, the market gained its strength back on Monday, with the Sensex rising more than 300 points intraday, tracking election-led rallies in European peers and due to good results from large-cap firms. The 30-share BSE Sensex was up to 290.54 points, or 0.99% at 29655.84, while the 50-share NSE Nifty closed above the 9,200 mark for the first time since April 12th, backed by cement and banking and financial stocks. Now joining us live on the broadcast from Indore is Loveless Sharma, Head Research, Epic Research. Thank you very much, sir, for speaking with us. First up, how, according to you, is the market likely to perform during the week?
Very good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to let me be on your platform. First of all, we'll start with market. Basically, if we look at the next week, I think the primary trend is still intact, that is bullish. There may be some kind of a headwinds, a small correction maybe of 1% or 2%, but we must understand that in a secular bull trend, any particular dip on the lower side is an opportunity to enter the primary trend. So on the next week, we believe that the strategy should be buy on dips. We still believe that any upside is more upside is left in the market till I guess 9320 to 9340 in coming week. On the downside, we see very strong support at 9150. So any dip should be an opportunity and buy dip should be the strategy.
Right. Also, Loveless, what, according to you, is the reason for the jump that we saw today?
Well, there are many factors. First, after weekend, we came with some of the positive cues. I mean, all the negative cues that we have had last week. Coupled with that, that was a overdue correction in the market from 9273 at an all-time high. Market was poised for some kind of a correction. But as we corrected, we must have noticed on late Friday that on the weekly chart, Nifty was trading at 10 days moving average. Now that's a very crucial support to look at. And since we were around 9050, 9060. So that was a reasonable correction. And in this week, I think, good results by some of the private sector banks and expectation of good results by Reliance, which just came in. So I think that was one of the triggers which kept market at, on a bid basis.
Right. And also, what sectors would you recommend buying in, Loveless?
See, we are expecting a very, a very good bull rally in especially PSU banks. Apart from PSU banks, we are also expecting a very good rally in realty stocks and infrastructure stocks. But in the last couple of weeks, we have seen almost 20 to 25% odd rally in some of the realty stocks. Still, I believe that some of the PSU banks are fairly priced at this point of time. We have seen a good rally in Nifty overall, but we are yet to see a good rally in Bank Nifty. I think 21,700, 21,750 was the resistance on the high side, and we have closed above it. So some of the PSU banks such as SBI at 295 to 300 level, we are a bit on Bank of Baroda. Coupled with that, some of the private sector banks like Axis Bank and ICICI. So I think that those are the stocks or those are the sectors that we should be looking at in coming weeks.
And any big cues to look out for, according to you?
Yes, there are many cues. We have Federal Reserve, speak on Wednesday, I guess, and then we are being followed by some of the major results. I think just result which came out of Reliance, I think it is upbeat. I think it will be giving a good kind of a clue to market to continue this particular uptrend. With that, we'll be looking at some of the major results in the next week. But also with that, we are going to see some of the monsoon prediction, how it is going to pan out. So stock specific action will be there, but yes, overall the undertone of the market is bullish.
All right, and how do you think global markets will perform going forward?
We have seen a decent correction. I mean, we wake up to Monday morning, we see DAX and CAC and FTSE at 52-week high. Though FTSE has seen some kind of a correction, but DAX and CAC has already given a good cues and a quite determined cue for coming week with a 52-week high. I mean, both index are trading at 52-week high. So coming tonight, I think DJIA should also open at on a positive note. It is trading at 20,500. We also see DJIA inching towards 20,900, 21,000. While we are still upbeat on European economy, since there are chances that Le Pen will be on the losing side, and we are expecting a turnaround in the event. So I think we are upbeat on the euro. With euro, we are upbeat on DAC and CAC. FTSE may see some kind of a correction.
All right, let's leave it there for the moment. Lovely Sharma, appreciate your joining us on the broadcast here on WION Wallet. We'll, of course, keep tracking the very latest coming in on that front. But moving on for now, the euro vaulted to a 5-month peak in choppy Asian trading after the market's favoured candidate won through the first round of the French election. The results reduced the risk of a Brexit-like shock in France. Japan's benchmark stock average opened at 18890.38, up 270.88 points. In South Korea, stocks opened slightly higher, with the Korea Composite Stock Price Index up 0.33% to 2,172.18 points. Centrist Emmanuel Macron took a big step towards the French presidency on Sunday by winning the first round of voting and qualifying for the May 7th runoff alongside far-right leader Marine Le Pen. With that, we're taking a short break. Much more coming your way on the other side. Stay with us.